list.
Welcome to another Reactor Summit special for top 10 players of 2019. I've got a lot more than I did for matches, but to run down, you saw him on the top 10 matches. We've got JDH. JDH, how's it going?
Going pretty good. Right before we went live, it kind of went a little bit crazy because we're all kind of second-guessing picks that we haven't even said that we've made yet, and we don't even know who we have on each other's list. So this is going to be kind of fun to see who everybody's got on their lists, and accepting a lot of challenges and dings on my part. So, yeah, really looking forward to this.
And we've got the regular host of the Reactor Summit here, Kristen. Kristen, how's it going?
It's going. It's good. It's great.
The end.
I am looking forward to ranking some people, hurting some feelings, and making lots of enemies.
But also here, it's been a while since you've seen him on anything Schmoedown related, but it's Sandy. Sandy, how's it going?
Hey, Malcolm. Hey, everybody. Yeah, it is. It's been a hot minute since I've been on anything Schmoedown. Just been super, super busy. But you never, ever, ever, ever lose your love for the Schmoedown. So I'm really happy to be on this episode for sure.
And last but not least is we've got Doug. Doug, how's it going?
No, it's okay. It's gonna be least by the end of this. After discussing figuring out what I did wrong on this list. Just know, everybody out there, you can just send all your hate to me. It's my fault.
But how this list works? We're going to go around. Everyone's sent me the list. I've made a combined list, but we're going to go around. Everyone's going to talk about their own personal lists. We're going to go do 10 through to 8, 7 through to 5. Then it's going to go one apiece from there. And if someone's got something higher, so say someone brings up Umberto Gonzalez, then they just say challenge if they've got it really high on their list. He didn't compete this year, so he won't be on anyone's list. But JDH, I'm going to kick it over to you. What's your 10 through to 8?
All right, my number 10 is the Godfather Drew McWeeny. My number 9 is the Kid Brendan Meyer.
Yikes.
Or challenge or ding.
Challenge. Sorry, challenge.
Wasn't sure what to say there. Okay, I understand. And my number 8 is John Roca.
Yikes. Whoa, yikes.
Challenge.
All right.
But
so I just have to do 10, I guess. Correct?
Yep.
All right. So, Drew McWeeny, obviously very early in the year, he kind of went through a very interesting storyline where he joined up with Andrew Guy and Robert Meyer Burnett, formed the family. And as soon as he formed the family, they kind of went on a very good roll this year. Got all the way to the Ultimate Team Finals. I believe they went 6-0 at one point, and also was the winner of the 5-way Manager Bowl at the Collision this year. Pretty substantial win. It kind of set a lot of things in motion that kind of transpired throughout the second half of the year. So I think very, very strong team tournament showing, and his victory at Collision, I think, was enough to put him on my personal list, but apparently no one else's.
Kristen, I'm going to throw it over to you next. What is your 10 through to 8?
Okay. I'm guessing that some of these will be different places, or not at all on anyone's list, but I think 2 of them are going to be really different for some people. So my number 10 is Alex Damon.
Challenge.
Challenge, but yep, no.
Figured. My number 9's William Bibiani.
Challenge.
Yeah, there you go.
Challenge.
My number 8 is Kevin Smith.
Challenge.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll go around to Sandy next. Sandy, what is your 10 through to 8?
All right. So my 10 is the Kid Brendan Meyer. All right, there we go. There's the first one. My number 9 is Janine the Machine. All right, good. All right, no, that's right. And my number 8 is William Bibiani.
Challenge.
Challenge.
Bring it on. Okay, so the only one that I get to talk about is Janine, I guess, then, right?
Yep.
All right, listen, Janine really stepped her game up this year. You know, Jay was away for a lot of it doing it, and she really had to carry that particular faction on her shoulders, and she did a great job. She played a lot of really good matches, a lot of really tight matches throughout the whole thing, and her and her teammate who is escaping me at the moment, really, Ethan Irwin, that's right, went really decently into the team tournament and put up some good numbers. And I think she's one of the most improved players. She's getting way more comfortable in her trivia skin, and I think we're going to see some big things from her next season.
But Doug, we go on to you. What is your
Cool.
team today?
So this one's going to be a challenge. I know. Alex Damon is my 10.
Challenge.
Gotcha. Should we take a second just in case, or do you have the list in front of you? All right, she's back. Wait for her to get the headphones on. 3, 2, 1. My 9's Paul Preston. Nobody? Cool. And my number 8 is Brandon Myers, the kid. Cool. So I know that Malcolm challenged Alex Damon. Paul Preston. This dude is a beast. This year he came out like a monster. There's not much else you can say. He met Ben Bateman, which we may talk about later. May in parentheses. I don't know how to say that without sounding like a douche. But Paul Preston made a name for himself this year. Nobody knew who he was, and then he came in like a wrecking ball. His own version of Miley Cyrus. He was this player that kind of nobody saw coming, especially after his team match. So I thought it was great. And then I think we can talk about my number 8 because I don't think I may have had the highest. I don't know.
Yeah, you've got the highest.
Brandon Myers is someone who started off as an 0-1 player, and then we saw him in the free-for-all, and he lasted so long. Him and Bibbs started a everlasting friendship known as Shazam now, and has become one of my favorite teams. So of course I was going to put him in my top 10 because I think this kid, while yes, he may have not fared so well against Bateman, I think this year showed us how much of just an improvement he's going to be, what a valuable asset he's going to be. And I think he literally showed that starting at free-for-all. I think once he got his first case of the lights, it's a whole different whole different ball game when you're playing with someone on a free-for-all and then go into teams. And he made it to semifinals in the tournament, which is nothing to scoff at. But yep, that's my 10 through 8.
All right. Sandy, you also had Brendan Meyer. What do you have anything new to say about him?
Yeah, like you can just and I'm not going to get into his game too much because Doug did a great job of that. I'm going to talk about the person. This young man is possibly one of the nicest people that you will ever hear talk, or speak to. I've heard from multiple people that he's just a genuinely nice human being, and he fits. His positive attitude is so infectious when he's out there. He's always got a smile on his face. He just always wants to play well. So yeah, I had him on my list. Absolutely. I mean, his play speaks for itself. So yeah, Brendan Meyer, keep it up, buddy.
And JDH, anything you to add?
So got to meet Brendan at the Spectacular this year, and everything both these guys said is absolutely true. A wonderful individual. Kind of the only real weakness that he's had so far is U.S. geography, as some of his matches has transpired. But getting to see the free for all in person too, I kind of got to see the interactions that he had with Bibbs, and they kind of said it right off the bat that something was probably going to happen. So we kind of got a little bit of insight for all of us that were there. And it really blew away my expectations of what it was going to happen between them. I figured they'd be a really good team, but did not expect them to have the run that they had in the team tournament this year. So was really blown away by not only his team that he did with Bibiani, but his overall play in general was very, very impressive this year.
Yeah. But anyway, it's back to me for my 10 to 8, and my number 10 is Laura Kelly. My number 9 is Ethan Irwin. My number 8, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a challenge. It's Paul Oyama.
Challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge. Got a panel of it right there.
You had a riot, a very quiet riot.
Good.
But yeah, Laura Kelly showed just how much she knows about Stars. Like in her season this year, even though the Starsfield don't play a lot, I think in her whole one she only missed probably about 3 or 4, a handful of questions all season. So I mean, I'll put her at 10 because I couldn't justify putting her any higher. Maybe she won the belt. But it's just one of those ones which she pretty much had a season, even though she only had a few appearances. But yeah. Ethan Irwin's one that he was, once again, he was pretty much dominant all season. Like, even though he did start off with a loss to Dan Mill and losing the belt again, but he just showed that why he was there, and even in his team's run, him and Janine really play off each other really well. But yeah, so we go back to JTH for his 7 to 5.
All right, so my number 7 is Rachel Cushing.
Challenge.
I will expect a little bit more with my number 6. My number 6 is Kevin Smets.
Challenge.
And my number 5 is Paul Oyama.
Challenge.
Challenge.
Good. I don't have to say a goddamn thing. Take it away.
Kristen, what is your sum 7 to 5?
My number 7 is Clark Wolf. My number, you guys all disappoint me as I'm so disappointed.
I'm gonna disappoint you more tonight, so it's okay.
I'm so disappointed. My number 6 is Ben Bateman.
Challenge.
Thank you. Okay, that's fine. And my number 5 is John Roca.
I have him higher up on my list. Not
so that's
I have him lower on my list.
Okay. I was gonna say, is that a challenge? Okay. Well, I'll talk about Clark Wolf since apparently you guys are horrible.
Listen, she was on my list and just didn't make.
Here's the thing. I give priority to people who hold and retain a belt. The lady held and defended a belt against very tough teams. She got the belt against one of the best teams in the league. Well, not really. She retained the belt against one of the best teams in the league. And they fought their way to get that belt against some really tough competition. They lost it against one of the best teams in the league. This is a team that literally every other player in the league was terrified to face. They were like the pinnacle of the team league while they were in the league. And them being where they were when they were and being kind of like the top tier of the league at the time really just meant a lot to the community. And when they retired, like, they're one of the only players to have that special because they meant so much to the league. It was really hard for me to not put her higher. It's just there's so many other competitors who did a lot this year as well. Yeah. And when you only have half a season to look at, it is what it is. But just the fact that she was able to keep the belts and you know, the way they went out was really dynamic and really powerful. They always had great entrances. They always good energy. They brought a lot to the league, and she continues to bring a lot to the league outside of playing. She deserves to be on everyone's list, even though she's not.
I will defend myself with Clark Wolf. I did want to put Clark on there, but for my list, I was actually focusing more on. I personally was focusing more on their singles achievements than anything. So it's for that. That's why she missed my list this year. JDH, why did Clark miss your list?
It's simply just because I don't think she played enough matches. It's kind of the same reason why I didn't put Alex Damon on there, even though he played phenomenal. I mean, he only had 2 matches overall for the entire year, so it was tough for me to put him on a list when there was people that played twice, some even 3 times as many matches. So it's also kind of the reason why Rachel was only 7 on mine. Just the lack of matches. She had another division to play in, so it helped her a little bit more. So she played really well this year. Obviously, got the team titles, regained them after a loss to the Odd Couple. So it was unfortunate. I really wanted to get her on there, but unfortunately, I think it was a really tough list to make overall. So I had to make a couple of exceptions. Alex Damon and Clark Wolf being the 2 big omissions.
It's fair. I get it. There's a lot of competitors in the league. I'm not blaming anyone.
There's a zillion characters. I understand.
I would just like to make everybody who's watching this right now, what's happened to Doug Castle? Like, he's literally behind his little screen.
He just forgot to put her on the list.
Yeah, okay.
I get the feeling that was what he wanted to put on.
No, there was somebody else mentioned right when I stepped in that I wanted to put on, and I'm just gonna hide my face for the rest of this right now, guys, because I don't want any hate. No, I think Clark's an amazing player, but again, when it came down to it, I included Inner Geekdom in my thing. That's why I was upset that I kind of forgot about Rachel for a minute. When it came to players, but for teams, Clark was a teams player this year. She definitely was a teams player. But for overall, if we were talking career wise, her accomplishments career wise is tenfold what she did for the league. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely included everything because players are players, no matter if they're playing at a teams or a singles in my brain. So yeah, I definitely included everything in my analysis.
Also, she did a kick-ass job as a commentator this year.
She did. She really did.
Yeah.
I have to talk about John Roca.
Yeah.
He's my 7. So yeah, he's my 7.
So yeah, John didn't have a great year all season. He was up and down, as many of his seasons are. But at the end of the season, he really, really redeemed himself with just a spectacular showing at Spectacular. He also, did get pretty far along in singles. Obviously, they got the team's belt. Obviously, they defended the team's belt. This is a guy who is so committed to the Schmoedown that he showed up on death's door to defend a belt and defended the belt. Like, I don't know what else there is to really say about him other than like he made the Schmoedown what it is. Like the characters, everything, like all is due to John Roca, and the continuation of his character this season I thought has been really good. The Horsemen kind of not being great and then kind of ending the season as like the top dogs, I thought was just really cool and natural, and I don't know, I appreciated it. So yeah, that's why he's on my list, and that's why he's at the top 5 for my list.
Yeah, I mean, he's my number 7. I don't know if you have any other people. Anybody else? No, just all right, cool. I had John Roca because I think John Roca is a phenom when he's on point. When he's on point and doesn't get in his head, he's one of the best players that's ever played the game. For me, I think I mean, you can't talk about a players list without having John Roca on it, because he always comes back and shows you the type of player he is, that never gives up, that he, we think of this as a sport. He's literally one of those people that go from underdog to overachieved. back and forth throughout every season. But I think he more so this season proved why he continues to play. He's still got it. So,
JDH had him a bit lower on your list.
Yeah, I'm had him at 8. Ultimately, he had a really good year. Unfortunately, the first half of the year, he kind of ran into that Bibiani roadblock, as most of the players did. He ultimately got the last lap of the Spectacular. So, also got a couple good marquee wins. He knocked off Kalinowski when he was kind of red hot during the singles tournament. So he got a bunch of marquee wins. Unfortunately, just other than the team championship, just didn't get the marquee win in singles that I think would put him over the top over a couple of the other players on my list.
Sandy, being you didn't have him on the list, why did you miss yours?
All right, I have two things to say about this. John Roca will be forever my favorite Schmoedown player of all time. Of all time. He is a great character. He's a great dude. He is a great player, and he's a great ambassador for the game. A month ago, I had severe bronchitis that was almost pneumonia. I was in bed. My skin hurt. Like the cat would walk on me, and I would be in pain. So for him to have gotten up out of bed, walk or drive or Uber, and then walk those steps to go down and play a match is something that you would only see in a superhero movie. And that's what John is. He's a superhero to the Schmoedown. He is not on my list just because I don't think that he had, up until the very end of the season, he just didn't have a very successful season this year. And even though he had some good wins, it wasn't just, you know how Roca's just that dominant player that's always in the top 3 of those players. And just this year he just didn't. There was a rush of new young rookies that came in that really threw the gauntlet down to the veterans. So I'm really interested to see what we see from him next year.
I definitely. And John just missed my list this year for pretty much the same reasons as Sandy. I think he did have a good sort of run near the end of the season. I think the first half of the season wasn't as successful as I think he could have done, but he's still. I mean, he's always one of my favorite players. But I mean, this season he just missed out. But yeah. Now we go to Sandy for his 7 through to 5.
Okay, here we go. My 7 is Tom from the Looney Bin. All right, good. Nobody's got that one. My number 6 is Jeff Snyder. And my number 5 is Ben the Boss Bateman.
Dang.
challenge.
There it is. I knew it was coming eventually, but at least I got 2 in there. Okay, so Tom from the Looney Bin. Listen, when I first saw these guys, I was weirded right out. They were just weird. It was like they were creepy. I didn't know what to think of them. They didn't talk all that much. It really freaked me out. I'm the biggest horror fan in all of existence, so you know that they kind of really did a number on my psyche when I first saw them. But you cannot deny that this silent dude ran up 4 perfect first rounds. I don't even want was it? And this is the only stat I don't know. Maybe one of you guys says, was it consecutive? Yeah. So
Because they played 4 matches.
that's right. So
he has only played 4 matches.
played 4 matches. Yeah. So there you go. So 4 consecutive perfect round ones. Look it up. I don't think it's ever happened before. I think that's absolutely the first time it's happened, which automatically puts him in a well-respected league. But I don't see this guy slowing down. Like, what stops him? Like, where's his weaknesses? I think if he was to go singles as well, which we might see at some point in time, I think he's got a chance to be a future champ for sure. So he's number 7 on my list just because of his absolute weird and dominant play. My number 6, or you guys want to go? Or yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll start with Kristen. Kristen, why did Tom miss out?
I mean, like I said, he's had 4 matches. They're 4 spectacular matches, but it's just 4. I fully expect at the end of next season, he will be number 1 on everybody's list. He's going to be in singles. He's going to be in teams. He's going to dominate. If he plays like he played this season, he's going to dominate. And it's going to be scary for many people. But this season, it's just not enough. He came too late in the season. There's just not enough matches. I wish I could have put him up there, but there's like on my list 9 belt holders. And for me, can't put someone who's played 4 matches above anyone who's earned a belt. It's just my brain can't do it, but he was like on my short list. I just couldn't put him above anyone else.
Doug,
Yeah, no, I love Tom. I am a big advocate of Tom. I have been on record saying that I think Tom's probably going to be the first single player picked after they do all the teams all the save teams that they're going to pick. I think he could be literally the champ by the end of the year, by mid-year, if the person that picks him up knows what to do with him, because the guy's got skill, undeniable skill. 4 perfect first rounds. He only missed 3 questions total, I think. The kid's got it, as they would say in baseball. No, but absolutely. I understand why you put him on your list, because he is a phenom. But yeah, I couldn't put him on my list because I need to see a little bit more. But I know the kid. I keep saying the kid. He's probably about the same age as me, if not older. But the guy's got the skills, and I think next year it's going to be really hard to take this dude on in singles.
Yeah. JDH.
Yeah, I mean, I love Tom. Love this Tom. I love Tom Dagnio. Love Tom Cruise. Love Tom Hanks. Love Tom Hendelson. Tom and Jerry. Yeah, love all Toms. So as far as the play, everything that they said, I don't need to add on anything else.
Yeah, I mean, basically the same as what Kristen said. Is like if Looney Bin had debuted at Stasi and sort of gone through all the way through, then it could have been different. I may have put him on, but I mean, also as I said, I was focused more on the single side of things anyway. Just because I know we've got the teams one coming up at some stage as well. But yeah, Sandy.
My
yeah,
number
can talk about
6.
Jeff. Yep.
All right, so Jeff Snyder is an interesting character. There was a match not this season, but the last season where he gave up in the match. He 100% shut down. And I thought that was the end of Jeff Schneider. I didn't think we were going to see him anymore. And then, everything that happened afterwards. And then you come back into this season and he gets teamed up with Mark Andreyko, and you can, when they were doing the picking for the corruption angle, when he picks out, you can hear Jeff in the background. Yes. He was so happy. He was just so happy to be the teammate, and he showed it. He showed up in like he was in costume. He played around. He was dancing. And his game elevated. He almost like he was having fun again. It wasn't such a chore. He had something to prove. And I really think this was a really great season for Jeff. He did, of course, he went on to win the titles, to become the only player to win the tag titles with 2 different teams. And he had a great run in singles, accumulating in having a title match against Paul Oyama. That was really close. It ended up being closer than anybody thought it was going to be. And he really solidified himself as a great singles and an amazing team player, because it looks like he can just win with anybody. So that's why Jeff is 6 on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love Jeff. I think Jeff is great, and if you're watching Jeff, I did not leave you off out of spite. It's one of those ones like think Jeff had a great season. It's one of those ones that he just missed my list. I just think he had a more impressive sort of teams one than singles, but it's one of those ones in which JDH, why did Jeff miss your list?
I mean, it was a little unfortunate. I mean, I love Jeff. Jeff knows that. I mean, hell, I bought his shirt from his garage sale at the Spectacular. Obviously, Kristen and Sandy don't know that, but yeah, that's his Remember the Titan shirt that he wore for the Above the Line match. So internally grateful. I was going to get the F the Italian Job shirt as well, but I was running short on cash. So hopefully someone else got a nice souvenir. But yeah, ultimately, obviously winning the team titles was a big deal. To me, it just felt like there was something missing this year with Jeff, and I don't really know what it was. He got that title match to the New York Live show. He would even admit that he made some very bad mistakes in that match that ultimately cost him the title. I think it was when he bet a couple points on that Harry Potter question in round 3, and it ultimately cost him the belt. And that could have been a huge deal breaker if he was able to do that. Like, he could have gone from not on my list at all to probably even easily top 5. So, yeah, it was just a good year, but ultimately it was just a year of missed opportunities, ultimately, I think, with Jeff. And I think that was just kind of an unfortunate deal. I think that's probably what many people probably will take with Jeff this year. Great year, but could have been much more.
Kristen, why did Jeff miss your list?
So, knowing my luck, he will watch and he will be like, "She didn't put me on. We're at war again." No, I talked to him at Spectacular. We had a good talk. We're not at war. No, he's a great guy. And like halfway through the season, I was really convinced that he was going to end up with at least one belt. I thought that this season was his year. He just seemed like he was in a great headspace and was very focused. But there was just some hiccups, and that happens to every person. I think some of the hiccups to me may have been managerial, maybe not helping him in the right ways. But that's fine, Roxy. I still love you. Shots fired. No, I'm just playing. No, I mean, he just had too many hiccups along the way. And if he had been able to maintain that focus in those moments when he really, really needed to, and not let those moments kind of like, jar his gameplay, he could have ended up with 2 belts. And that's really sad that he didn't. He was just on fire this season. And the fact that he's not on my list makes me really sad, but he just didn't do enough. He's going to be so mad.
and Doug?
No, I mean, there's not much that everybody else hasn't said. It kind of was a lackluster season for him. Besides winning the belts, which was huge, which was a huge moment. I don't think it was taken. The opportunity was taken advantage for him. He had that hot streak after beating Kalinowski with the Flash moment. But no, I think there wasn't enough capitalization on the victories that he did get to sustain him in that.
I'll add on to that, because Jeff winning the belt was a big deal with, being the same with 2 teams. But I think a lot of people would agree that kind of the bigger deal was the fact that Andreyko finally won the belt. I think that was the bigger deal when they actually won. Yeah,
and arguably Andreyko leading up to that was the hotter player on the team. So it's kind of like, yeah.
Listen, Jeff, if you're watching this, S. Robinson 1799,
But Doug, Now we go on to your 7 to 5.
All right, my 7 to 5. My 7 we've already talked about, which was Mr. John Roca. My number 6 is his tag team partner, Mr. Dan Merle.
Dang.
Challenge.
Oof.
Y'all can say wolf all you want. He would have been 5 if I didn't put 5 down. And that's Mr. Mike Kalinowski is my 5.
Dang.
Oof.
Y'all can say wolf all you want. Y'all can say wolf all you want. And challenge all you want.
And
I don't
ding.
get to talk.
And ding.
And ding. You can say ding all you want. Revolution. Here to lead a revolution.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure my 7 is going to be challenged. My 7 is Ben Bateman.
Challenge.
Dang.
My number 6 is Alex Damon.
Okay.
And my 5 is probably going to be challenged. It's Kevin Smets.
Challenge.
Hey, so I get to talk about Alex and no one else.
I had Alex at
I
10.
get to talk. I get to talk about Alex too.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. I get to talk about Alex and no one else in that section.
Oh.
I got you. I got what you mean. I got what you mean.
My apologies.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, I bet I probably put Alex a little bit too high, but Alex has pretty much been perfect all season. Like he's the Star Wars champ for a reason. I mean, yes, he hasn't had a lot of matches this year, but this is one that I think it does justify being high because just for the reason he's been pretty much perfect. He's held on the belt despite strong competition from Laura and Scrimshaw. But yeah, there's not much more I can talk about him. But and with the news that he's actually going into IG next season, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. So, but Kristen, you had him at 10.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's just the most dominant Star Wars player that's going to be in the league. I think that there's a chance, you've got Ken coming back in the league. He's always got a chance. Scrimshaw's always got a chance. Andrew DeMolanta's always got a chance. Laura's always got a chance. Heck, his wife, Molly, has a chance. I mean, there's a lot of people who could dethrone him, but right now he's the dominant player. He hardly gets anything wrong. He's scary. He pretty much writes the material that every other person uses to study for the matches. Yeah, it's just there's a reason he's on the list. Star Wars doesn't get played that much, so there's a reason he's not higher on the list for being such a dominant player. If there were more Star Wars matches, he'd be higher on the list. It's just there was like 2 matches this year.
But Doug.
Absolutely. I have him at 10 too. I think he is a force to be reckoned with. I'm excited to see what he does next year. I'm excited to see if he'll ever get dethroned or if he just retires from Star Wars, which might happen. I mean, if nobody actually challenges, he only wants one person. There's literally one person that he wants to fight before he probably retires. Listen, he might double headline. I'm just saying. The show's shooting in Atlanta. Atlanta's happening. Come on, give hope. Hope. Star Wars is about hope. Let's have hope.
But it's not gonna happen.
No, but I generally think this guy is like. I said it during our reaction. Who knows this stuff? Who knows it? Like it's literally questions. I didn't have my board and react to the questions because I was like, no, even the first round, I'm not gonna know. Like the first round, I'm not gonna. When you're not gonna know as a reactor, the first round of the questions, you've known it's got deep. But no, Alex Damon is a monster. So is Laura Kelly. So is everybody that's in those leagues that are running up, almost 30 points. It's a crazy game. So,
Sandy, Alex missed your list.
Yeah, I mean, he did. It's once again, it's not because he's not absolutely ridiculous when it comes to Star Wars stuff. I mean, seriously, everybody that's in the Star Wars League has been. I mean, I used to think I was good at Star Wars trivia, and then these guys just looked at me and said, "Amateur, not even amateur, child," and that was it. So just the simple fact that he only played twice, and as dominant as they were, and 2 title defenses, and I get that. You know what? I know that more people are coming in, but I'm still looking for that Alex Damon Sam Witwer match. I'm really looking forward to that if it ever happens. Let's see.
It's called Hope, Sandy. It's what Star Wars is about. Hope.
Yep.
Let go.
Never.
Let the past die, Doug.
Kill it if
Listen,
you have to.
you can take that Kylo Ren, and I'll keep my Princess Leia because the line's more iconic.
JDH, why did Alex miss your list?
I'm not gonna lie. When I did my first draft of this, I actually had Damon at 10, and then as you know, and I had McWeeny on there. It was just I started thinking with McWeeny, he played so many more matches, got so many more wins. I felt it was a disservice to other players that played so much more and got so many more wins that it was kind of just like not right to leave them off. Like, I get that Damon played out of his mind and had 2 title defenses, but again, he only had 2 matches. It was kind of hard to judge, 2 matches based off an entire season of how someone did. So upon thinking about that, I ended up reluctantly taking him off my list, and saying that so many more people had him on their list, it makes me kind of regret making that decision, because I felt like I thought everybody was going to look at me like I was an idiot. How can you put someone that had 2 matches on your list for best players of the year? But so I now concede to all you. I now apologize. That was a very poor decision on my part.
It's why I'm probably going to take the heat for having him too high on my list. But JDH, what is your number 4?
So my number 4 is now the reigning singles champion. It's Ben the Boss Bateman.
Challenge.
Take it away.
Kristen, what is your number 4?
Paul Oyama.
Challenge.
Take it away.
Doug, Sandy, actually, what is your 4?
My number 4 is Rachel Cushing.
Challenge.
All right.
Take it away.
Doug, what is your 4?
My number 4 is Kevin Smets.
Challenge.
Take it away.
My number 4 is Mike Kalinowski.
Challenge.
Take it away.
JDH, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is William Bibiani.
That's my number 3.
And he was
Take it
my
away.
number 8.
Yep. That's put it. He was my number 3 as well.
Nice.
So who takes it away?
JDH, go first. Go.
With pleasure. So I believe Bibiani had by far the most wins out of this season. Unfortunately, just wasn't able to get a belt at the end of the day. Unbelievable free-for-all performance. Most likely, probably the front runner for Moment of the Year right now for the awards. Just had a phenomenal year overall. It's just he didn't get that belt to kind of put him over the top, but just racked up the wins in singles, racked up the wins in teams, had a phenomenal year. There's really not really a misstep that he had this year. Just didn't get a belt. It was kind of unfortunate. That was kind of the make or break thing when it came to me not having him even higher.
Yeah. But yeah, Bibbs has been really dominant this season. Going from 1 to all the way to the end of the free for all. That definitely gave him a lot of wins there because he beat 28 other people. But regardless, I mean, had he won the free for all, he might have been higher on mine. But he's just had a really dominant year. Regardless, there's not much more I can say. It's already been said. Doug, you also had him at 3.
Yeah, we three-way tied for 3. I like it. Bibbs is one of, it's said all the time, he's one of the most knowledgeable players to ever play this game, outside of maybe Rachel Cushing. He's ridiculous. He's one of the best competitors. He started a movement of still standing. When he started standing, he hasn't sat yet. His famous line of, "I don't remember what a chair looks like." I laughed ridiculously amount during that whole thing. No, I think Bibbs, you guys nailed it on the head. He's one of probably the best competitors in the league. I think with the manager next year, he will be the best competitor in the league. It's insane. Bibbs slowly became one of my favorite players. So,
Sandy, you had Bibbs a bit lower.
I did. I had him at number 8. Listen, I love William Bibiani. He's been on Take 3 before with us. He's a fantastic, nice guy. And like from just watching video of the backstage at the meet and greet at the at that. He was everywhere. Like he was just everywhere, shaking people's hands, standing for pictures, just being a real stand-up guy. Bibiani to me is solid. He's solid gold. Like he's that good, and yet he still hasn't crossed that hump of getting to a championship, and that was why he was lower on my list. Still made the list, but because he had a fantastic year, but until he can cross that line in a season and get there. I mean, I know he's been champion before, but didn't hold it for very long. But yeah, he's a solid gold player and a human being. So,
Kristen, you had him a bit lower.
Yeah, I mean, I basically the same reasons as Sandy. He was one of the best players of the year without having a belt in both teams and singles. The things he achieved this year are legendary. He just wasn't able to translate that to hardware. Do I value hardware more than I value overall play? Maybe. but yeah, I just think that there were, the moments that you need to be the best player in the league, he wasn't. And that's unfortunate. And it breaks my heart a little bit that happened to him when he needed to be the best player in the league. He wasn't able to translate to those moments, but he still had a hell of a season.
But yeah, Kristen, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Dan Murrell.
Dang.
Challenge.
wow.
Take it away.
Sandy, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Mike Kalinowski.
Dang. Take it away.
Challenge. Doug, you've already talked about your 3, which
I
is
got my
Bibbs.
3. Now you've got your.
My number
You've already talked about Bibbs.
Yeah, I've already.
We're into 2, guys. We're into 2.
Yeah. JDH, what is your number 2?
Well, you can keep the name right there because my number 2 is Mike Kalinowski.
It is also my.
I had a special number 2 for that one.
Mikey Suspenders.
Mickey Suspenders.
Oh, Mickey Suspenders.
But yeah,
I hope that was intentional.
But yes, so you can talk about JDH.
He was my number 1 for probably 8 months of the year, and then a couple matches happened. He had a couple of very infamous flubs. He also took advantage of a couple infamous flubs. Again, it was almost, he was that close to fulfilling everything that he wanted to. Had that loss to Snyder that cost him his title shot at the New York Live show. Would have been really interesting to see what could have happened because Hall came into that game. He didn't really have the game that he was hoping for. So would have been interesting to see if Mike could have actually won that match, where this second half of the year would have gone. I didn't pin his final defeat at Spectacular too harsh. Yes, it was kind of a debilitating loss to Kevin Smets, but he just did so much in all the other leagues that he had to put him high on the list. Just everything he did in singles this year, even though he didn't quite reach the top of the pillar, was incredible. Everything he did in teams this year was incredible. Inner Geekdom, exact same thing that I've said. Everything that he did was unbelievable. I think I said that like 5 times. So yeah, his year was unbelievable 6 times.
Kristen, you also had him at 2.
Yeah, one of the only 2 people in the Schmoedown to have 2 belts at the same time this season. He also was the only person in the Schmoedown this season to have a possibility of having all 3 belts at the same time. The fact that someone can be in contention for all of that, serious contention, not just like, oh, well, he could get it. There was a path for him to get every single belt. That's super serious. That's super impressive. He worked his butt off to get to this season. He was on point pretty much the entire time. And he took some hard losses, but at the same time, like, he fought for almost all of them. And probably the only reason he's not number 1, maybe a little bit of personal bias, but also, just that last loss, man, it really shook me seeing someone who I pretty much thought was like solid the entire season take a loss like that. Really shook me. And I'm sure it shook him too, but I was non-verbal for the whole match. I was sitting in the stands just going, what is happening? What is going on? It was unbelievable to me, which is really the only reason he's so low. It's really sad, but he would have been my number 1. I'm sorry, Mike. So close.
But Sandy, you had him at number 3.
I had him at number 3. Listen, we talked earlier about John Roca and how he was the godfather of creating a character. Mike Kalinowski upped it like unbelievably with the whole corruption angle, playing that, and all the little vignettes that were on at the end or the beginning of each Schmoedown match were just priceless. Take that into consideration as I say this. Probably the most dominant all-around player this entire season. I know that he didn't, get that shot. He lost to Ben, and and that's the way it is. But 2 belts, him and Chance winning the titles was amazing. And when he beat Rachel for the Inner Geekdom title, the pure unbridled emotion that he had was not story. It was all Mike. And you can see, like a John Roca, you can see how much this game means to these players, and especially to Mike. He was extremely out of character when he was as complimentary as he was to everybody, but it didn't matter at that point. You give him that because he's the champ. I think the sky's the limit for him next year. I think he's got, after, Kristen said, after the loss to Smets, I think he's got to, really, and I mean, it depends on where he goes in the draft, right? Like, I mean, if somebody, picks him that really, really wants to, form him into and get him back together again, I think that's going to be a real determining factor for him. But you know what? The simple fact is he was dominant this year. Had a chance to be 3 belted at once, and like Kristen said, only second player that's been double belted at the same time, next to Rachel. So that's why Mike was number 3.
Yeah, he was my number 4. I mean, I like Mike. He is great. He just kind of, I had him a little bit lower. I mean, in hindsight, I probably should have put him above Bibbs, but it's too late now. I'm not going to change it and mess up my algorithms. But he did have it. He did have a chance to go 3 belts, but then it all went away from him in a flash. But yeah. But yeah, I was tempted to
That was bad. Sorry.
ask the Cool Reaction guys to borrow their gift, but I wasn't going to.
That's mean. That's mean.
They get them a little bit lower.
I did have them a little bit lower. You know, when you're playing a sport, there's called good sportsmanship. You can be great and have great moments when you win. It's how you lose and handle it. That last loss to Smets, he walked off stream, and Mara Kanopik got the same thing because she was upset. He just walked off and didn't do a post interview. That's why he lowered himself on my thing. Regardless of how he did this year, if that's part of KFEB or not, you should have still came out on screen and did the interview like Mara did. I hold that very much in contention. When you are a player, no matter what you're doing, you're viewed by all these people. So when you have a loss, shake the person's hand, because Smets, when he lost with the Don't Tell Peter, he still came out, did his interview, did it like how you're supposed to do it, and didn't just walk off stage and didn't not have an interview. That for me knocks you down a few pegs. You were doing great, and then you let it get to you too much. So I understand where you guys have them so high, but for me, a player is also how you manage yourself in these post-match interviews, in these kayfabe videos. It's all how you handle yourself. I understand you might have been upset, but you still go out there, you say, I'm going to come back next year, and this is what I'm going to do. It still would have been more respectful of everybody on that stage.
But yeah, Kristen, you've already called out your number two, which is also Mike. Sandy, what's your number two?
My number two is Prime Time Paul Oyama.
He's my number two, too.
Yeah, you can talk about it. That's the highest he actually is. So.
All right. Listen, I know Paul really well. I mean, he came from Full Metal Trivia, so and other fan leagues. I've played him, and he kicked my ass 6 ways from Sunday. The thing is, he went in there. He was a rookie. Nobody but us really knew him. And he jumps on there, bang. Next match, bang. Next match, bang. It was just lights out. Like, he was lights out. He won the title undefeated, 6-0 for a rookie, youngest champion ever. And that is impressive. Like, he didn't come from this background of being a movie critic or being a movie blogger or anything like that. He came from the fan leagues and went in and destroyed people. Now, you can take his loss to Ben Bateman at Spectacular, and say, okay, well, yeah, it was pretty lopsided, which it was. There's no question about that. And he'll be the first person to admit it, that, he did not play a great game, but he's not going to ever give up. He's going to come back next year, and I expect him to go very high in the draft. And you know what? Nobody can take it away from him. 6-0 as a champion, and that's amazing. So Paul Oyama, Prime Time himself, is my number two pick.
Ducky was also your number two.
My number two as well. Not only did he go 6-0, he is the only person to do it in their first season. Next to Dan Merle, but Dan Merle did it in, I believe, 5 before he was champ. It was 5, right? 5 matches, and then he, or 4 matches, then he became champ. I think that's how it went. It might be a little hazy, but he's a phenom. The kid knows his stuff. I can say he's the kid because guess what? He's younger than me. So the kid knows his stuff. And he's come into a league where people dislike him. Like, there's genuine hate for this kid because he's a fan leaguer who moved up. it's incredible to see him prove a lot of people wrong that were like, who is this kid? It's kind of a great sports story. I will refer to sports stories because we are a mental sport. It's still a sport. Get over it, people. But no, it's incredible to see him do everything that he did, even in that match with Ben. He still tried to hold his composure and he still tried to fight back until the knockout came. He never gave up. And it was an incredible match. Granted, it was an incredible match for a wholly different reason, but this kid was incredible. I don't think there's really much more to say about it, but it's just something that was not seen since this season.
Kristen, you had him a bit lower.
Yeah, he was my 4. He might have. I probably should have put him a little higher, just given the record. But again, personal bias is a part of this. So obviously, my list is tailored to my favorite players. I've not been silent that I've not loved Paul's character, not his actual being. His person, he's fine. He's a great human being. But I've not been silent that I just don't care for his character. I think as the year has gone, his character has improved. The beginning of the year, I just didn't. His character wasn't great for me. But as the year's gone, I think he's improved as K-Fob and all that. Getting a manager, I think, has helped a little bit as well to kind of get him hyped into the role and all that. So there's the work there. I think next season, as long as he can get put with a great manager, I think he's going to be an all-around great player in general. But yeah, this year he was just, almost unbeatable. And Spectacular was a huge fluke, honestly. I talked to him.
Played.
I talked to him that day, and there's just stuff happening as things tend to do, but it's a huge fluke. I mean, to have someone who's that unbeatable go down like that, it was highly probable that he would have lost anyway, but in my brain, it should have been a lot closer of a match. But he beat some of the best people in the league. He beat Dan Murrell. He beat Jeff Snyder. He beat, he beat like everybody, and really just came into the league and dominated. The only thing I wish he would have been able to do is also translate in teams, but there's a little bit of strategy that I think he's got to pick up for teams still. So once he gets that figured out, this guy is gonna just be scary. He's another person that is just gonna be really scary for people next season. So I mean, all power to Paul. He's great. I wish I had been a little bit nicer to his character this season, but he knows face to face. I appreciate you. You're a dear human being.
JDH, you had him a little bit lower.
Yeah, I think I had him at 5. I can't remember off the top of my head. To me, it was kind of just, it was the ultimate story of like the wagon that, the wheels started to get a little bit more rickety as the year went on. Like he started out red hot, and then the Dan Murrell match happened. You started to see more kinks in the armor. He was actually losing for a good chunk of that match. He came back and won the title, which was a big deal. And then his first title defense happened at New York, and the wheels got more rickety. You could see that he was a little bit nervous out there, had nowhere near his best game. And then he had his team match in the team tournament, got knocked out in the first round, which I think was a much bigger deal than I think people made it out for. Didn't play his best game there. And then you have the Spectacular. So it was like, if he had been able to keep that momentum going, which I know is a tough order to do because he just started so red hot, it would have been great to see him like keep that level of play, but it's too tough of an order of a thing to ask, I guess. It was a great year. Obviously, just great year for the rookies all in general. Just all the fan league representatives, Smets, Chance, and Paul, all came from the fan leagues. They all won belts this year. Like, to me, that should really put the fan leagues in perspective. Should put the players that are coming from the fan leagues next year in perspective for a lot of those players that aren't taking the fan league seriously. It really should. Ben Fakeman, looking at you. Yeah, it was just ultimately just I would have liked to have seen him do a little bit more in the second half of the year because you could definitely tell that the rest was starting to form on him, which was unfortunate. But overall, you can't really complain about his year as a whole.
You hear about that, managers? You should be watching the families. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
I mean, we know for a fact that Roxy Straw is definitely watching a certain person,
That comment.
but but yeah, I had Paul at 8. In hindsight, I probably should have put him a little bit higher, but for pretty much the same as a JDH, I think he had a good start to the year. He sort of came in strong. I think the last few matches was kind of what pushed him down a little bit for me, and above the players that were established and that I already had, I couldn't quite put him above some of those, but I mean, maybe next year he'll be higher. I'll mind. But I mean, I know Paul. He is great. Even though he loves giving me shit about movies that I like that no one else seems to like. But that's another story. But Paul's a great guy. But yeah. Paul was Doug's number 2 as well. So it's to my number 2, which I'm pretty sure is going to be a challenge because my number 2 is Rachel Cushing.
Hello.
So
You guys all knew this
JDH,
was coming.
so JDH, we go to your 1.
My number 1 is Dan Murrell.
He's also my number 1.
Okay.
I mean, we can't challenge any higher, so
that would have been weird. No, he's my 0.5. So Dan had an incredible year. Obviously, that's kind of putting it lightly. Went 5-0 at live events, which is absolutely preposterous when you think about it. Won singles title in his first live event. Won a team title. Won the free for all. It just successfully defended both titles that he won. It just everything you could put on the resume for a player of the year, Dan did. So to hear the announcement that now next year he's going into Inner Geekdom, it's like, what the hell's going to happen there? Because if he's any bit as good as he is in singles, and we know he knows all the Inner Geekdom stuff, he's a rabid fan of all that. I'm curious to see how he's going to do, how he's going to measure up to like a Kevin Smets or a Konopik that he knows pretty well. I'll just leave it at that.
Just a little
bit. Just a smidge. So, Dan had an incredible, and it's not just the wins. It was just the overall gameplay. It's like, I think he also had like 3 100% question accurate games too. So he had the wins, he had the gameplay, he had the accolades. He had it all this year. To me, it was a pretty easy choice once, Mike had all of his kerfuffles at the end of the year. I don't even know if that's a word. So
sounds like one.
Sounds like one. Okay, I'll take that as a positive. Dan's number 1. The end.
But yeah, pretty much everything that that JDH said is pretty much the same sort of reason that I've got down on mine as my number 1. He pretty much won a lot, winning the free for all, winning the belt, winning the team's belt, accuracy, gameplay, it's all there. And I'm not going to lie, when he made this announcement, it's spectacular about him going to Inner Geekdom. The way he was talking, I thought he was legitimately going to propose to Mara on stage. But yeah, Kristen, you had Dan at 3, I think. Yeah.
Like JTH said, just all around amazing player this year. Defending both belts, not an easy thing to do. Seen time and time again people who can't defend the belt. to win the belts a lot of the time at live events even is also a huge thing. I mean, he won 3 of them at live events. It's a big deal. And the last event, he people talk all about the fact that Roka showed up, but Dan was going through a lot of personal stuff too. It's been posted about a couple times. He could have easily not shown up at the match either, and he did, and he pushed, and he won. So the guy's got a huge drive. You want to see how well, or if you want a good gauge on how well he's going to do in Intergeekdom, look at how Mara does against Smets in January, because they have been studying together. And from what I hear, locker room talk, it's going to be an interesting Intergeekdom season this year. Because Roka's also in the mix, and he's been studying with Dan as well. So, yep, this is going to be an interesting year.
Wouldn't that be something if the first, Intergeekdom match with Dan is Alex Damon? Could you imagine?
Alex has got to work on his Harry Potter.
Don't roll Star Wars. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, don't roll. Well, I mean, all the Star Wars questions are pretty easy in Intergeekdom comparatively. But yeah, I mean, Merle's had a heck of a season, and he really just continues to prove that he's the GOAT of the Schmoedown. No matter what happens, he always maintains that level of GOATness.
Doug, you Dan Merle a bit lower.
I did. I had him at 6. I love Dan. Dan is always going to be the GOAT. I just think somebody had a more impressive run this year, especially towards the end of the season. When it came down to it, I put him a little lower this year, just because I think there's a few players that I think really did what nobody thought they were going to do this year. And one of them was 2 of them were rookies. Dan will forever be the GOAT. There's no one taking him away from that. There's no one taking him away from his Mount Rushmore. I just think more players had really spectacular seasons.
Sandy, Dan missed your list.
Yeah, listen, I love Dan Merle. I think he's the Lincoln on the Mount Rushmore. It's ridiculous how good he is. But I'll tell you why. I think for me, he was a victim of his own success. I think Dan has been more dominant. I think Dan has been more feared. And I think that Dan has made like, he used to be the person that if you were going up against him, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go and play and have a good time. Dan's going to kick my ass. And so I didn't think that he reached that pinnacle this season. For me, I know Kristen's already given me the Kristen eyeball over there and saying that, but I
didn't say anything.
But I think it's just you become a victim of your own success. I know that he won, but they also lost a bunch of matches. I mean, they lost 2 matches in a row to Corruption, only to win in the 3rd time, and he had to use his number 1 contender shot to get that chance at the titles. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. They got the titles and they defended them. That's fantastic. His live performance is awesome. I was on the reaction when Andrew Guy came out to that Jaws music and was flipping out because I thought it was Dan Merle coming back, and that dastardly Drew Guy screwed me. But he's awesome. I just thought that there were other people that deserved mentioning on my list this year.
That's fair. Kristen, tell us who your number 1 is. Robin Wide Burnett from that one match he played.
Definitely that's the match of the year. I mean, I can say that unironically. It's one of my favorite matches of the year.
Mine too.
Honestly, unironically. It's Rachel Cushing. This is a personal bias. 100%. It's a personal bias. And it's one I don't care that people disagree with me about. And she got her Intergeekdom belt. It's what she's literally wanted since she entered the Schmoedown. And she has just faced she's always had like the toughest competition to get the belt. You look at every single Intergeekdom match she's basically played since she started Intergeekdom, and it's been some of the highest scoring matches. It's been some of the hardest matches in the entire history of the Schmoedown. I mean, the matches are basically, you can list them. Some of them are in the top 10 of Schmoedown matches of all time. This is someone who plays at an incredible level every time she steps in the door. Not only that, she didn't really have singles this year because she was so focused on winning that Intergeekdom belt, but she did get the team's title back from a fantastic team, held the belt again against a fantastic team and lost it, but it was still a great match. I mean, just the level of play that she continues to be at, regardless of, personal things. She had a lot of struggles this year. She pushed through everything to give us some of the best performances we've seen all year round. And the level of competitiveness, the level of respect to the game, the respect to the other players, the respect to literally everything about the Schmoedown that makes it great, is why Rachel Cushing is my number one. I just think that the impact she has does not allow me to put her down any lower on her year of retirement. And yeah, I mean, this is just my way of saluting one of, if not the best player to ever step through the Schmoedown doors. So yeah, she's my number one.
Yeah. I'd wait for at number 2. Once again, she's probably a little bit too high for me because of personal bias as well. Couldn't justify putting her over Dan, but as well those ones, she's still really high because I've always idolized her. But she's played an amazing year. Like just being really high in the game for in a kingdom, and even in the teams, she was great. And I mean, the way she dealt with her haters a lot of the time was respectful and all that, and yeah, I mean, she was one of the ones that I kind of look to when I get a lot of hate all over the place. So it's like, I'll just shrug it off and move on. Don't let it get to me too much. But yeah, but it does make me sad that we'll never see next season Robert Parker versus Rachel Cushing in anything. But Harloff, if you're listening, do an exhibition match of Lord of the Rings trivia of Rachel versus Robert, and she did say she'll return for exhibition matches. So if you can make that happen, then do it. Do it.
Make
I
it
don't
like
know
a
who's.
second preface.
I had her at 4.
Yeah, Sandy, you had her at 4. You can talk about Rachel now.
Okay, so the only reason Rachel isn't at number 1 is not because of her as a player. It's just I thought other players had more to do during the year, and because of her retirement, just didn't get as high. If she'd have competed more, that would have been it. Rachel is flat out one of my favorite competitors of all time. She is so gracious. She is so regal. And I don't use regal term for most people, but she is. She holds herself with an air of just loveliness. You know, you can tell that she has a big heart. You can tell that she loves the game. She's as far as I'm concerned, she's on the Mount Rushmore. She has to be. And she's a triple threat. She's great, not as great, but great at regular trivia. She's absolutely lights out as an Intergeekdom player. And, teamed up with Clark Wolf, teamed up with Ken Knapsack. She was one of the more, steady players on both of those teams, able to push their teams into victory a lot of the time. I mean, I'll never forget that she had to like take on the, Burnett and, I can't even remember who the other person was, all by herself when Ken didn't show up, and still put on Andreyko. That's right. And still put on an amazing job at that. I mean, like, when was the one? And she almost won. Yeah. And like, when was the last time we saw a 2-on-1? I mean, we almost saw it at Spectacular, but I don't think we've ever seen it again. So, she's just a fantastic player. She's all around. I will echo Malcolm, Christian, if you're listening. Robert versus Rachel in a Lord of the Rings, a Middle Earth match. You will not be disappointed. I guarantee you. So Rachel, number 4, could have been 1, could have been 2, could have been 3. She would not ever have gone out of my top 5.
But JDH, you had her a bit lower.
Yeah, you're all making me feel like a dick because I had her at 7.
Oh no, it's coming. It's coming.
I am on trial. Really, everything in red words. Now it's gray. Okay. You got me all confused now. Look, I got personal bias for Rachel too. Rachel's my favorite player. I don't think that's any, question about that. Getting to meet Rachel at Spectacular this year, and she actually knowing who I was a freaking honor and a half. Just because no one else seems to know who I am. All those Patreon voters. All those Patreon voters.
Damn you, Patreon voters.
I love Rachel to death. And I've always been on the record. If she never had to play in a live environment, she'd probably go undefeated. It's just unfortunate. It's that live atmosphere that always makes her a little bit more uncomfortable. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing. She went 3-2 this year as an overall record. Was defeated in the live throwdown event. Well, actually, no, I guess. Yeah, I take that back. I mean, she lost the final match that she had against Corruption. Then at the Comic-Con event, did win the Inner Geekdom title though at the beginning of the year, which was amazing. It's my favorite match of all time in Schmoedown. I think it's the best match of all time in Schmoedown, and I will remember that match till the day I die, which hopefully will not be for another 50 or 60 years. Good Lord willing. I love Rachel to death. Just nothing else that I can say cannot be said by anybody else here or anybody else in the community. Rachel is unbelievable.
Now, Doug, you better hide because they can speak.
I'm gonna pull my mic down right here.
Oh, that's what you're on trial for.
You're on trial. I'm on trial. It's okay. Listen, when I put this list together, it was really rushed. That's no excuse that I forgot somebody. I'm getting yelled at via memes. Great. No. Listen, if I was being honest, I'd probably bump off my 9 and put her at 3. Rachel's that good of a player, regardless of how long she played during the season. There is nothing that anybody else can say. I'm getting pressured on trial. I just see the eyes. I'm just going to go behind this so I don't see anybody. Rachel,
this panel finds you guilty.
If you're listening to this, you are literally one of my all-time favorite Schmoedown competitors of all time. And you really honestly listen. All right. You really honestly were great. That's why I was a part of this Shire Wolves retirement video. Because of the impact that you made. I don't know, guys. I'm bad. All right. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Are you done? I'm tired of looking at a wall vent.
Yes. I'm done.
That was the most uncomfortable I've ever been on a Take 3 video.
That's so uncomfortable.
Trials adjourned, Malcolm.
Sandy, what is your number 1?
It should be no surprise with me, period. My number 1 is Kevin, the Smasher, Inner Geekdom champion of the world, Kevin Smets. Not only is he an amazing, amazing player, he's a friend of mine. He I got this message a while back, and it was from a certain person with the letter initial K, and he said, "I'm sending somebody to you," and I said, "Okay." And I got him in right away, started talking to him, and we got him into our Geek League. And from the moment he started playing, you could tell this guy had talent. He was amazing. Not only was he an amazing player, but he was an amazing person. And then he goes up, and he finally gets his chance to go up. And what does he do? Knocks out everybody. He has this one asterisk beside his name with that one tiny itsy bitsy flub that he had that cost him that match to go up against Rachel Cushing, which again is a dream match. I would love to see Rachel versus Kevin. And it just is so good, but just dominant, just dominant. And then he goes up against Mike. His final shot, his shot at the title at Spectacular. And what does he do? Pounds Mike into the ground, and shocked. I'm literally sitting there waiting for this big comeback and, going into extra innings, maybe sudden, and it just didn't. And I'm like, and I woke my wife up. The cheer. I was watching it, the cheer that I let out when that happened. I messaged him right away. Of course, he didn't get it right away because he was celebrating, and he should have been celebrating. But I couldn't have been more prouder of a person. And he really he ended the year as champion. When you end the year as champion, you get you get to be number one on lists. And because of his dominant performances, save that one match, which is still a fantastic match, even though he lost to Kalinowski, didn't look back. Just didn't look back. He's gonna wear that that Intergeekdom Championship. I almost said Intercontinental Championship. I saw JTH looking at me there for a second. He's like, but the Intergeekdom Championship. I'll be interested to see what Mara brings to the table, because I don't know if we've ever seen anybody as focused as Kevin Smets is. He does not get rattled very often. He is all business when he walks in the ring. He has no friends. He has no enemies. He is just, the questions are all he wants, and he just has answer. And that's what you have to be. And that's why Paul was my second pick, because they just don't lose very often. And when you can do that, you're going to be champion. You're going to be champion for a while. The inner geekdom realm next year is going to change drastically with everybody that we've talked about already jumping into it. I believe in Kevin. I just believe in Kevin. And I think Kaiser is the perfect manager for him. I mean, come on. If we're talking outside of the matches, those vignettes when he's like, they're looking for Kalinowski in Disneyland, and they're absolutely some of the best TV or YouTube content ever. Just laughing for days. Some stuff I was like replaying in my head a couple of days later and just laughing out loud at work. So Kevin Smets is my number one pick, and champ. Good on you.
Doug, you had Kevin a bit lower.
I had Kevin at 4. I feel the same way that Sandy does. This guy is a force to be reckoned with. To let yourself not be haunted by your one mistake and come back and prove why you are a dominant force. He not only came back, he came back and knocked out somebody on a live stage. That was incredible. He's just a beast. Everything that Sandy said is true. Like, you see this guy and he's just something that's really incredible to watch. I said it, I got lucky when I drafted him in my fantasy draft. I was like, I'm drafting him. I don't care. I need an Intergeekdom player. Let's do it. Let's see what he does. And throughout the entire year, one victory. I was like, all right, this guy knows what he does. Second victory. What is this guy? Third victory. Yep, nobody's beating him. And even with the flub, even to put that against him, like I said, he came back and he knocked out Lavik. And not just like a TKO. He knocked him out. Like it's when you think of him, he's literally this warrior that's just on a path to show you what he can do, and it's literally him in the questions, and that's all it is. He gives you added bonus with stuff that he does with Kaiser, which is why I won my Schmo Baits. Thank you. Reality TV show called The Dungeon. Give it to me now, please. I want it. Christian, SEN Network. I'm telling you, just follow him around and do it. But no, Smets is unbelievable.
Yeah, I had Smets at 5. He definitely had an incredible week. There's nothing much more I can say that that people haven't said. But the only reason I didn't really have him high is because Smets is only in one division. The people I'd high have been in sort of multiple divisions, and that's the only reason he kind of fell a little bit lower on mine. But he's great, and yeah, I mean, in reality, he's probably holding that belt for Robert eventually. Because fun fact, that's how Robert won the belt, by beating Kevin in the fan league. So
it was his only blemish, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're exactly right, Malcolm.
But yeah, JH had him a little bit lower.
Yeah, I had him at 6. And first, I want to apologize to you, Sandy. He didn't get that message because he was actually having a beer with me at the bar after the show. So I'm sorry, Sandy. I'm the reason that he didn't get that message.
As long as you gave him a big JTH bear hug, then that's all I care about, buddy.
Well, I gave him the thumbs up, but unfortunately, my laptop wasn't available to give him a gift or rip a bracket in front of his face. Although I don't think he would have got that. But yeah. I had him at 6, kind of for same reasons that Malcolm said. Just playing in one division kind of, stagnated his ranking for me. I had kind of a infamous, ordeal when he first played, and I called him Kevin Smith. I think a couple of occasions, which he did not forget, because when I met him at the free for all, he was very prompted to actually bring that up and make that aware. And I apologized to him, and he just did, love your videos, call me whatever you want. So I was like, okay, but I'll try to make sure I don't do that again. And I've loved Kevin. I've been talking to him behind the scenes about a couple things that I will keep nameless. But yeah, I just love Kevin, and kind of the don't tell Peter thing. I would actually make a case that it actually kind of helped him in the grand scheme, because it motivated him. It cleared his mind about all the stuff that was in his head, having to worry about win, and then that kind of refocused him. The other thing that is kind of a nitpick, but not really, is sometimes he does get a little bit overshadowed by his manager, which sometimes can be a good thing, sometimes can be a bad thing. So in a way, he had a great year, no doubt about it, but the single division playing did kind of hurt him in the grand scheme for me personally.
And Kristen, you had him a little bit lower, but
Oh, yeah, just a little bit lower. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how I could put him higher. I guess I probably should have put him at my 7, but I wasn't knocking anyone past my 6 down any, so there wasn't anywhere else for him to go. I mean, you look at his year, and he really was just unbeatable. I would argue his match against Flavic's never been a top tier Intergeekdom player. So him knocking out Adam Lavick when Adam Lavick has been running around all day doing work at Comic-Con, to me, not the smartest match. He would have immediately been into my top 5 if he had beaten Rachel Cushing during the year. But he wasn't able to. He never faced Rachel Cushing, so it's not his fault. It's just the matchups he had weren't as strong as some of the other matchups that people won higher up on the list. That's the only reason he's so low, is that, he did have that flub against Mike Kalinowski. It cost him a belt. Every one of the best players, every single one has had that moment. So he's in good company. He's in great company. You got Dan Murrell losing to Andrew Guy. In what universe does that ever happen? In this universe.
666.
Apparently in this universe. But, he's in great company. And him being 8th on a list of 10 people out of every Schmoedown competitor of the year is still huge. I mean, I love him to death. He's one of the nicest guys. If this was a list of people who respect the game, people who are great sportsmen, he probably would be number one. He has the most respect for the game of pretty much anyone playing. He's great with all of the fans. I mean, he loves the fans to pieces. He watches like every single reactor. He sends people like nice messages on Twitter about everything. Just the nicest guy, supporting of everybody. But it's just the cards. The matches, the match against Slavic, while he did knock him out, not the best competitor he could have faced. At the end of the day, that's really why he was so low. Would have been higher if they could have gotten a better ticket. That's just how the cookie crumbles, But he's a great guy. I love him to pieces. I wish I could have put him higher because he's seriously just he's the bee's knees.
He is.
But anyway, there's one person left to talk about, and most people may guess who it is because he's been challenged a lot. But Doug, who's your number one?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to put this person as high as I did, but his season was incredible towards the back end, and that's one Mr. Ben Bateman. What he did and what he had to overcome this season towards the end of the season is why he's my number one. Regardless of if you think he's the best trivia player, he showed his heart and soul right out on the field. Going in right before he had back surgery and playing through all those matches. Team tournament and whatnot, singles tournament, made it to the finals, TKO'd Bibbs, and then KO'd Paul Oyama. No one thought that was going to happen. It's literally I didn't expect a back-to-back KO during the event. And Ben, all the way from the Houston event, Ben has been this kind of force that's been kind of growing. And I didn't expect to like Ben as much as I like Ben now, his character and who he is, set aside from the person that he is. He's literally this person who showed up and played the match the best to his ability and showed why he's a top tier player, why he was literally labeled the best player in the league without a belt. He finally got his belt. No one can say that anymore. And he did it with a hurt back, and he did it with, a bunch of other stuff going on. So I think while Dan's great, Rachel's great, this person has persevered through a hell of a lot to get to that finish line, and he finished it with a KO. There's not much more that can be said about that.
JDH, you had him a bit lower.
Yeah, I had him at 4. I think it was just a tale of two halves of a season. Season kind of got off to a rocky start when they were beat at the Chicago Live event, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. I think they went into that match a pretty heavy favorite in most people's minds. Kind of the team actually didn't perform as well as I thought they were going to this year. They didn't make as deep a run in the team tournament that I thought they were going to. I thought they had a real shot of getting all the way to challenging for the belts. That's spectacular. Probably a good thing that didn't happen because he would have played in a billion zillion matches at spectacular. But didn't have the free-for-all performance I think he was probably hoping for because he was coming in with a lot of momentum going into that. But once the second half of the year rolled around, he really took off and really played unbelievable. And just winning the singles title at the end of the year was a marquee moment for him and for Schmoedown in general. So, it was would have liked to have got him a little bit higher, but I just couldn't put him over the the other three people on the list, just based on the wins and accolades and the overall gameplay. He had it all, just not quite on the tier that those three that I had.
Yep. Sandy, he was a little bit lower for you.
Yeah, I had him at 5. For him to have gotten into my top 5, he had to have had a pretty spectacular year. And like I said with Kevin, he ended up with the belt, which automatically pushes him higher. He might not have even made my list if he hadn't gone and done the run that he did, especially winning the singles tournament and then going up against Paul and putting a beating on Paul. Listen, he's an absolute rock star, for doing what he did and how he did it, and with what he was going through doing it. That's all part of it, and congratulations to him. I just don't know how long he's going to keep it. When people get hot, they get hot. When you have to dominate everybody who's coming for you, when you've got the X on your back, what can you do? What do you do? Do you elevate your game? I don't know. We've seen Ben hit some pretty lows, and I'm worried about where he's going to go with the championship. But you know what? My list for next year could change if he defends twice, and then gets back in with Riley and they make a run at the teams. That could be a big turning point for me. He's a spectacular player, just not, just high enough to get into 5 for me. So, yeah.
And Kristen, he was a bit lower for you.
Yeah, I mean, I would have put him higher, but at the end of the day, he won the belt at the very last minute. Like, I mean, it's not really his fault that it's the last match of the season that he won the belt. Legitimately, the last match of the season. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, he's a spectacular player. Everything he's had to do to get to where he is incredible. Seriously, one of the best comeback stories, I think, in terms of how low he was at certain points in his career to where he stands now with a really successful team and a singles belt. And the guy studies like no one else in the Schmoedown does. He, I think the only way he can lose that singles belt anytime soon is if he pulls unfortunately, a Mike Kalinowski and just really has a bad match. I don't know any other way he's doing it, because he's focused and knows his stuff. And I wish I had put him a little higher, maybe above John, but I think John would have been mad at me if I had done that. So yeah. But yeah, then I love you, man. You're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing.
Do what you do.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I had him a little bit lower again. But for me, it was his double win at Spectacular, which kind of helped solidify him on my list. I mean, he had a good back half of the year. It was just that first half, which he didn't really do as good as I thought he was going to do. So it was with just going on the back half of the year when he did make his big run, especially when he was injured and he wasn't too sure if he was going to make it with his back surgery and all that. It was so great all in all. But yeah, so that's everyone's personal list. I will say the combination list is really interesting.
We have 31 ties.
No, we actually got no ties tonight. But on our combined list, coming in at number 10, we've got Brendan Meyer.
Ooh.
Coming in at number 9 probably helps the fact I have him really high is Alex Taylor. Coming in at 8 is John Roker.
Okay.
Now the interesting thing is from 7 through to second, they're all separated by 1 point apiece. That is how close it really got.
Need to get a calculator to do some math. Who's who?
It's why I use computer spreadsheets. But Bibbs is at 7.
Wow.
Rachel Cushing is at 6. Kevin
It's all
Smith.
Doug's fault.
Kevin Smith is 5th.
Wow.
Ben Bateman is 4.
Well, I had him there, so that's right.
Merle is 3. Paul Oyama is 2.
Hey, that's right where I have him. That's right.
But coming in first by 5 more points, we had Mike Kalinowski. Mike Kalinowski is which I found really surprising, considering no one had Mike at number 1. So,
He's a bad man.
He was consistently at the top of like everyone's list, though.
yeah, but I know, but it's one of those ones. When you see everyone that was number 1 on someone's list end up lower than Mike, it's just crazy. But
Just how he likes it.
exactly. He's going to watch this and go, I'll forgive you for all the bad things you said about us. Everyone combined is correct.
There you go.
But yeah, we've reached the end of another one. Still to come, we've got moments of the year, we've got teams of the year, and we've got personalities of the year. With a whole bunch more crew. I know the next we've got a whole bunch of of our rivals at the awards. C2A is going to be on a few of those. Hashtag justice for JTH.
Justice for DJTH needs to happen.
But yeah, and Sandy had to drop out. But you can find Sandy over on Full Metal. He runs it all there. And so if you want to get into matches, talk to him. But yeah, JDH, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at WWEJTH1. And no need for justice. I got exactly what I wanted. 3-time Schmoedown Award, never nominated her in the after show reaction of the year. So thank you for all the non-support that all the people gave me. Your non-recognition did not go unnoticed from JTH. Thank you so much. I could not have done it without you. Take it away.
Kristen, where can people find you online?
You can find me Smith_K10, the number, not the word, on Twitter, Instagram, and Stardust, even though I don't post anything on Stardust. You can also find me hosting the summit. We will be back to talk about the draft soon, within the next couple weeks, because we have to, because then the draft will be done. Also, hopefully we'll have like a special episode before the end of the year. Who knows? I'm hoping so. So a couple episodes before the end of the year. And then, awards, you can vote for us if you want.
Doug, where can people find you online?
Find me on Take 3, doing stuff here. Go check out the Adventures Transvail. I'm sure we'll have another episode up real soon. People getting together. It's fun trying to organize this thing that we call D&D. I got the Manor coming out next year. It used to be Blood Manor, but it was kind of really selective, and people were like, make it more about everybody, and then we'll join in. We'll see how that rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me on Take 3, hosting Rankum. You can also find me doing my regular Reactors posts. by the time this goes up, it'll be well into January, and we'll have our Schmoedown personalities back out on the go. You can also find me over on Full Metal hosting Florida Random, and yeah, I do a lot of stuff. So yeah, but until next time, take care.